that is like, let's go around the table on this one first. Do you think men and women are the same and we operate the same? Let's start here.
No.
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 Not at all, right?
Definitely not.
Okay. So we operate completely differently. So is it fair to say that because we operate completely differently, we should have kind of different standards and rules on how we exist and live, or should they be completely equal if we're different?
Not equal. I don't think there should be. Equal standards, no.
Yeah.
It just depends on the person. Like, that's a hard question. Like, it's just equal in a relationship. It depends. Yeah, like it's a hard question to ask, to be honest. In terms of, yeah, I don't think we're equal in certain things. I feel like I always think like women have the key for sex. Men have the key for relationships, even though they don't know it most of the time.
That's very true. Most guys don't have any idea of their worth in the dating marketplace.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between being equal and having equity.
Okay.
Would be my statement on that.
So can you elaborate? What does that mean?
That's a good one, yeah.
Well, like equal suggests that everything has to be the same for both parties, whereas equity is more about what's sort of fair or right for both parties' needs. So just because somebody has a different need to you doesn't mean that you can't find an equitable solution, right? Yeah. So it doesn't mean that the solution's exactly the same for both parties, but you can have your needs met equitably.
Okay, I think that's an interesting point. For example, to do with the whole, I think a lot of guys that are labelled, controlling or all that type of thing. The main reason that men are more territorial, and I don't actually think, like, there's a few people said like, oh, what are they threatened by? What are they? I don't think there's anything insecure and or unstable about a guy being very secure in his idea of relationships and understanding men and saying, hey, listen. I understand that 1 in 100 guy could actually be a good friend, but I'm not willing to risk my relationship on a 1 in 100 chance that this person's not interested in sex. Most men overwhelmingly deal with women for one thing: sexual interest. And I don't think there's anything wrong. Again, one-on-one, all the interactions, men are the pursuers. They go out and pursue women for the most part. Women exist and are approached by men for the most part. It's not all the time. It's not 100% of the time. I know there's exceptions to the rule. I'll let you go in a moment. And so I think there's slightly different standards on like opening the door in your relationship. Like a guy actually has to literally go out of his way to interact with a woman. For the most part, men are not being approached by women on their own. For the most part. Does it happen? It does happen. But it's considerably less. For example, there's a bunch of studies on all the social media platforms and stuff like that. The hottest, most attractive men on dating sites or whatever only have the same level of messaging and being kind of approached online even than like the mid-range women. The women that are in the top echelon get 300, 400, 500 times the amount of attention. Like, for example, you could have like a half famous individual that's male and a girl that works at Coles, and the girl at Coles is still massively exceeding their intake of male interaction online because they took a couple of photos on the internet in their bikini or whatever. So just in saying that, I think, like you're saying, equitably, you have to operate differently because the interactions are different. Like, in my opinion, if you're in a relationship and you're advertising yourself online, I think that's a crossing of the line. Because the way you, what does advertising online mean? Bikini photos, going out drinking with 2 girlfriends, blah, blah, blah. This is, for me, advertising. And a lot of guys have this same idea. They're just too afraid to go, hey, wait a second, this is how I feel. This is why I feel that way. Because they're going to get told that they're controlling, insecure, blah, blah, blah. So I think there's actually a lot of security that comes out of being confident enough in your boundaries and saying, no, this is what I expect. This is how I feel. You're welcome to completely disagree with that and do whatever you want. But I'm not going to take you seriously in a relationship or whatever. And I think a lot of guys not true, not a lot of guys. I think a small percentage of guys do that. Like you were saying, like a lot of guys have got no idea that they control relationships, and women control the access to sex, and I think that's very true. And because they don't understand that, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, baby. All right, fine. I'll get rid of Cheryl. She's gone. What else? And then like, it just leads to like a dysfunctional relationship. Like, I think...